So good morning to you all. This is Christian Zeller. I know some of you know who I am. I'm NMSU's Immigration Counsel, and most of you know that about twice a year I come on campus and we talk about visa regulations on how to deal with OPT, how to get a visa after you graduate and what have you. But I thought it was necessary to have a chat with you today since there have been so many changes in the last few weeks. And what I want to do is just give you a very quick and brief rundown on the changes that I think that might be of interest to you, and then just open it up for questions. So this is not really a presentation where I just go on presenting. It is really designed for you, where you can ask any immigration question you want, and we'll be happy to answer those. Now, we have not done this with NMSU previously. So with me in the picture, you can see Liz Pavan, who is our executive coordinator on everything that I do. And many of you know Liz, especially everyone who's been working with us at NMSU. And so when you do have a question, please go to the Q&A and just type in the question. And then Liz will, consolidate, questions that are the same, and she'll ask the question, and I'll be happy to answer it then for you. You also have the opportunity to raise your hand, and that would allow me to unmute you, and you can ask a question. But beware, as many as you know, I'm a much better lawyer than technician. So when you do raise your hand, I may not be able to manage that, but I'll give it a try. So here we go. Let's start with, we'll talk about CPT, OPT, travel, and H-1Bs. That's it. I'll condense it to at the most 10 minutes, and then you shoot away with your questions. Those of you who are in CPT, and even though campus is closed or no one is working on campus, your CPT goes on. You can work CPT remotely, whether that was an on-campus job or whether that was an off-campus job. The only thing that you need to watch out for, though, is that the CPT job continues to have the same mission as it originally had. As long as you do that, you continue to have valid CPT. Now, OPT is a little different. Those of you who have applied for OPT and those of you who are in OPT at this point, as you know, many employers have shut it down. Some employers allow you to work remotely and from home. So if that is the case, you can work remotely. That is not a problem. What should not change is the mission of your job. We want to make sure that that remains the same. As you know, when you work in OPT, the work that you do is a direct function of your degree, so you got to continue to do that, but it doesn't matter whether you do it remotely or not. You also know that with OPT, you can work full-time or part-time. It will count towards OPT, and we have gotten a note from ICE, from SEVP, that even if you work less than 20 hours right now on OPT during the COVID-19 crisis, you will be counted as working during OPT. So it's not going to count towards your 90 days of unemployment. That's actually a great thing to have. If you are in OPT and your employer is right now unable to pay you, or you've been furloughed, or God forbid, been terminated, you can still volunteer. Any volunteer time that you put in during your OPT time, that will count as working in OPT. Now, beware though, if you are a STEM graduate and you are within your STEM OPT, then volunteering is not an option. Then you will have to be paid. You can certainly work part-time. You still will have to be come within the purview of the training program that was originally written up for you for your STEM training program. No volunteering. Now, I often get the question on unemployment benefits. If you're in OPT, that's a tough question to answer. In my opinion, you do qualify for for unemployment benefits, because unemployment benefits are an earned benefit. So depending on how long you have worked, you might qualify for that. But please beware that my comments relate to the federal guidelines. You would have to check with your local unemployment office, wherever your work may be, whether that's in the state of New Mexico or elsewhere, as to what the unemployment eligibility guidelines are within that particular state. Now, travel, that's a lot of questions I get from students at this time. The most important thing when it comes to travel is that you want to distinguish between COVID-19 related travel restrictions and immigration related travel restrictions. If you are an OPT student and if you have a valid student visa in your passport, and if you have a proper travel designation on your I-20 signed off by your DSO, for all intent and purpose, you can travel internationally. However, in order to get back to the United States, there are two things you gotta watch out for. Number one, you gotta be in valid student status. You gotta have a valid student visa. You gotta have a valid passport. That's the immigration side of it. And then you gotta look at the COVID travel restrictions. You know, can you get into the United States from the country you're in? Or is your country on a travel ban list? If you are from any one of the Schengen countries in Europe, or the UK, or Ireland, Iran, you cannot get back to the United States. Also, if you are from a country where there is no travel restriction, but you're traveling to the United States through any of the countries where there is a travel restriction, you may not be able to get into the United States. So be very, very careful, please, when you take a look at that before coming back to the United States, whether in fact you can travel. Now, finally, let me conclude with a quick rundown on H-1Bs, because I know we have many H-1B visa holders at NMSU, and many of you who want to go into H-1B and may have already been approved for H-1B. With this current economic crisis, of course, you find a lot of furloughs, you find a lot of terminations. And if you're an H-1B visa holder, let me first say that the term furlough is a term of art. In my book, whether you're terminated or furloughed is one and the same thing. You're not working. And that's really what matters in the H-1B context. As you know, an H-1B, that the employer had to complete what's called a labor condition application. And on that application are the hours you have to work and the wages you are to be paid when you work. If you deviate from that, you might be in violation of your H-1B visa status. Now, first, if your wages change, you know, the employer would have to file a new labor condition application. Let's say you change from part-time, from full-time to part-time. That would be such a significant change. The other thing would be if the employer instructs you now to work from home or from another remote location and you no longer go into the office. You may or may not know, but when your H-1B visa was issued, it was issued for a specific metropolitan statistical area. So when your job, let's say, is in Las Cruces, and now you're working from home, but you don't live in Las Cruces, you live elsewhere. And if your home is outside that metropolitan statistical area that covers your H-1B visa, well, that would require a change or an amendment for your H-1B visa. So any material changes like that, you know, I'll be happy to answer specific questions on that. And finally, if you are being terminated and you had an H-1B visa, you have a 60-day grace period. And within that 60-day grace period, you can either change your status. You could change back to student if you're in H-1B, if you have a valid I-20, or if you can get an I-20. You could change to visitor. You could change to any other status that you might qualify for. Or you could find a new H-1B job within that 60-day time frame, and that would also keep you in status. So those are the things that I've been confronted with mostly in the last 7 weeks or so, and that is what I wanted to share with you. And with that, I wanted to turn it over to Liz and see whether we have already received any questions. And I encourage you to go ahead and ask questions right now so we can get those answered for you.
Okay, we have a student that's asking, I was an NMSU student but took a semester off and was planning to join back this summer. Since everything is locked down, is it not possible for me to travel back? I believe NMSU is also going online classes over summer and fall. Is it possible to take online classes or an assistantship? My service was voluntarily terminated when I decided to take a semester off.
Sure. I mean, if you have a valid student visa, of course, if your service was terminated, you need to get in touch with NMSU to have your service reactivated. Yes, you can attend online classes. During COVID-19, that has been allowed. So please get with your folks in the international office at NMSU and get back signed up. Of course, we don't know when you will be able to come back stateside. That depends on the country that you are in. You may be able, if you signed up for summer classes, and if these summer classes are being held, and you are now within the 30 days of these summer classes to get started, and you do have a valid I-20, and you are coming from a country that currently has no COVID-related travel restrictions with the United States, get on a plane and come home.
Okay, Louisa has a question about the H-1B. The H-1B, I know the form asks if I received public benefits. We have received EBT for the children who are US citizens. Will that affect us?
No, it will not. The children are US citizens and they are entitled to the benefit.
Okay, Edgar. My F1 visa expires in November, but I will need more time to finish my degree. Can I renew my F1 visa before it expires? If so, how much time before? And how probable will it be approved or denied?
Well, Edgar, I don't know where you are, whether you are stateside or whether you're overseas. If you are overseas and you're currently studying and your I-20 indicates an end date or the end date on your I-20 does not cover the time frame that you are asking me about, no, then you cannot get a visa for that. You would have to have another I-20. If you are, however, stateside, then you need not extend your visa because your visa is only there to travel to and from the United States. It's not here to keep you here. What keeps you here is your I-94, and as long as you have a valid I-94, and as long as you are attending school, and as long as you are taking a full course of study, you're fine.
Rodrigo wants to know if there are any changes in the green card applications.
No.
Okay. NFL, my OPT is going to expire on May 15th, and I am not qualified for OPT extension. My H-1B visa is in process.
What is she asking us?
She did not finish that.
If that is not finished, let me just say something too.
What are her options now that her OPT is going to expire? Her H-1B visa is in process. She doesn't qualify for OPT.
Let me answer it the way I understand it. And if not, then I would ask the student to rephrase the question again or come back on. I understand that your OPT expires, but you have applied for H-1B, and it seems you have been selected for processing. So I am assuming that your prospective employer is actually processing your H-1B. If what I just said is true, then you are fine. You can remain in the United States. Once your OPT expires and you have already been selected for H-1B processing, you come within the purview of the cap gap, and you may remain here in the United States, and you may actually continue to work with your employment authorization card until your H-1B is adjudicated for October 1st. Now, if this circumstance is not your circumstance, what I just described, please get back with Liz, and we'll make sure we answer the question a different way.
Are university H-1B sponsorships likely to be impacted by the crisis? If
Well,
yes, in what ways?
I encourage you to speak with your department head who is intending to petition for you. I can't answer that question, but the actual visa processing, no, that will not be impacted. So if you have an H-1B job offer and your department is ready, willing and able to go ahead with that petition, we'll be happy to petition for you. What has changed, and that's the only thing that really has changed, the USCIS for now has suspended premium processing, so we can't avail ourselves of that. But other than that, there are no changes to the H-1B arena.
Due to the pandemic, many international students have lost their on-campus job during summer. Is there any possibility of working off-campus for summers?
If the on-campus job was CPT related, yes, but then you need to get with your department, and you need to get with your faculty to see whether the job that you had was actually if it is off campus, if it is the same CPT job, and if that business that you're going to work for actually has that alliance with the university. If you're just asking a job that you had on campus that was given to you and you were cutting into your OPT time, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that if that is what you did during the studies.
How does COVID-19 affect a J-1 visa holder?
If you continue to be employed, it does not.
I was recently hired by NMSU. My H-1B visa is in process. My appointment starts in August, and I'm currently on OPT STEM. In case my H-1B visa is not ready by August, can I start working with the notice of action?
No.
I have a TN visa. I need to renew it in June. I know all USCI offices and consulates are closed. How can I extend or renew it?
The USCIS offices are closed, but a TN is not renewed with USCIS. It is with a field office. It is renewed at the USCIS service centers. We can do it today.
What if you have a TN visa to work at NMSU and you are a Mexican citizen and you want to get a job with another employer in TN visa? And now the consulates in Mexico are closed. How do you get another TN?
As long as you have a valid I-94, we can change you to a new I-94 with your new employer stateside, as long as you still have a valid I-94 with NMSU.
I have an approved OPT. I found a job in Las Cruces, but my company is closed due to COVID-19. My OPT will be active 1st of June. If I cannot get paycheck within 3 months, what will happen?
I recommend that you start volunteering there, because our volunteer work will actually count towards your OPT time, and it will not, it will do away with the unemployment 90 days. You may also want to get in touch with that employer, and if the employer offered you a full-time position, offer to work part-time for them. And as I said earlier, during the COVID-19 crisis, ICE actually has acknowledged that even if you work less than 20 hours, you're still considered not to be unemployed. So offer any type of hours to that employer, maybe show some flexibility there.
Okay, if this is my second H-1B, the grace period is still 60 days after termination?
Correct.
I am negotiating for a job in a different state. I'm waiting for an OPT, which I will receive in the mail soon. I am married to an international person. He has a J-1 visa and works in New Mexico. In the negotiations of this new job, I can negotiate for a job for my husband. Does he need to travel to his country to obtain a visa for his new job, or is he stuck with the job?
He is stuck with the J-1, and I would also have to see the DS 2019 and the actual visa to ascertain whether your husband is subject to the 2-year foreign residence requirement, and I would have to learn more as to what type of visa he would actually be applying for in the state you're moving to see whether that would even be a possibility to apply, whether such a change of status would be a possibility for him.
I'm from Mexico and need to go back and forth to my country several times a year. I know that I can stay here in the US with a valid I-20. Can I renew my F1 visa before it expires?
You can renew your status, but you cannot renew your visa. You would have, you would have to go outside the United States in order to renew your visa. You would have to do that in Juarez. Then the question is, can you come back in?
Regarding OPT extension, my EAD card was issued beginning of August. What if I obtain a letter of degree completion before next August? Would I be able to apply for an extension before August? Because graduation for next summer is in mid-August, which is a couple of days after EAD expires.
I think the USCIS has been rather gracious on forgiving, a day here and a day there, and even untimely applications. So I would go ahead and try, absolutely. Some of those answers that I'm giving, are not rooted in law. There have been so many changes, and there is really not a playbook for many of these things. And some of it is touch and go. So please keep that in mind when and I'll point those things out, where I'm not referring to regulations or where you don't hear a very quick yes or no from me. We have seen all the government agencies to be quite helpful, actually, and quite forgiving on a bunch of circumstances. But again, whenever that happens, you have to take it with a grain of salt, because we don't know how they're going to react to that later. Go ahead, Liz.
My country is not on travel restriction, and I am planning to travel back to issue a new passport. I am not sure if I can come back then to complete my study. My F1 visa expired since I leave US. However, my I-20 is valid.
You will need a new F1 visa, and if your country is not on the travel restrictions and you're flying directly from that country to the United States with a new visa, you can absolutely come back. Beware though, it depends on when you're going to travel, because right now, all consulates and embassies worldwide have suspended visa services, so you may not be able to get a visa issued just for the mere fact that the embassy or consulate where you usually get it is closed. So I encourage you, before you do anything, contact that post and see whether they are willing to actually issue a new visa for you.
My husband has an offer for an R1 visa. Are those visas affected right now?
No, they are not. Again, the question is where your husband is located at. If your husband is in the United States in a valid visa status, and we can change his status from whatever he's in to R1, that is certainly a possibility. If your husband, however, is outside the United States and wants to get an R1 visa that way, I'm somewhat hesitant on how to answer it, because I don't know whether that consulate in your home country is actually open to provide that visa service.
If my H-1B visa process is significantly delayed by the time I have to start, should I consider getting a TN? Can I ask for TN visa while in process of H-1B?
This is an issue that we've dealt with last year, and somehow all these H-1B visas were issued. Some of them were statuses were actually issued after October 1st, and nobody from the government reacted to it, because legally, really, this gets you outside of the cap gap. So at this point, I can't give you a firm answer to that. The USCIS is determined to have all H-1B visas or statuses ready by October 1st, and that's the best best answer I can give you at this time. But I would not switch to a TN at this point, because you can't bootstrap various visa applications. You are now in cap gap, and you're changing to H-1B, and it's my understanding you have already initiated that process.
I'm an OPT, and my visa is going to expire this November. Can I renew earlier than November? I'm currently waiting for my STEM extension.
Typically, a status you can file the application about 180 days early. The start date will be, obviously the last or the first date of your current OPT expiration. So if you are 6 months out, and it seems you are, since we're now in May, I don't know the exact date in November that you're running out of status. Yes, it seems to me, if you have a STEM offer already, then go ahead.
Okay, I'm an F1 visa, and if I get selected for the diversity lottery, can I process it while in the US, or will I have to go back to my country to process? And will I lose my F1 status if I am denied a visa after the DV visa interview?
The visa lottery has been under attack, as you know. Well, first, congratulations on being selected by that. Not all of us win the lottery. So typically, yes. Normally, you know, the DV immigrant visas are issued overseas, but you can also, you know, adjust status stateside, which of course requires, you know, that you are in legal status. Otherwise, you could not adjust. And then the next thing is, depending on what country you're from, you know, the Department of State really notifies about twice as many people than actually won the visa lottery. There's only 55,000 available, but they notify over 100,000 people because, you know, not everyone takes advantage of it. So, you know, don't hold your breath that you actually, you know, will get a green card out of that. It really depends on what country you're from and what the usage of those DV numbers in that country will be. But the simplest component of your question was, you know, can I adjust status in the United States? And the answer to that is yes.
An NMSU student was in DACA and the student cannot renew its DACA. Can they still continue to be enrolled in NMSU without getting an I-20?
First, I do not understand why that person would not be able to renew that DACA. If you have DACA, I think right now you can still renew it. But if you do not have DACA, or if you're not renewing it, no, you cannot be enrolled in NMSU.
I am a student at NMSU and I'm not currently in the US. My F1 visa and I-20 are valid and will not expire until 2023. Could I travel to the US during the summer?
Yes, you can if your I-20 is properly annotated and if you're coming from a country that does not have any COVID-19 travel restrictions to the United States.
For how long after F1 visa expires do I have to wait to apply for a renewal?
Repeat that again, please.
How long after the F1 visa expires can I wait to apply for a renewal?
You have a 60-day grace period. You have to do it within that 60-day grace period. Liz, I see Kenny raise their hand, so I'm going to try whether I can get Kenny on. Kenny, can you hear us? Hey, Kenny, ask your question. Kenny, go ahead. Told you I'm a pretty good lawyer, but not that good at not that good a technician. Okay, Liz, keep on going.
Okay, is it okay to renew a student visa while in STEM OPT if I'm getting married to a US citizen?
Fine.
So is CAP exempt H-1B premium processing also suspended?
Yes.
I was hired as a full-time instructor on a TN visa in January. I'm Mexican. The school offered to sponsor a green card. Should I wait or can the process start now? Can the perm process be initiated?
Yes, start now.
I'm on OPT and was scheduled to start working in Texas on April 4th. COVID-19 made the employer issue a hiring freeze. I'm currently unemployed. What are my options with respect to the 90-day unemployment deadline?
Either start volunteering somewhere and keep looking for a job. You know, obviously that employer And I'm sorry to hear that this employment never worked out from the beginning. So obviously that employer is shut it down, and the employer doesn't have a choice. So you need to move on. And if you can't find a job, please start volunteering somewhere, because that will keep you in proper status.
Does CapGap apply for H-1Bs for NMSU jobs, since NMSU can apply for H-1B year-round?
No. It's not necessary. There's no need for a CapGap. If NMSU wants to apply for an H-1B, they can do so.
I'm working at academic institution on an H-1B with a master's degree. And if institution is willing to sponsor change of status, for which employment-based visa should we apply?
Well, I would have to see your resume in order to make a recommendation. But the answer in general is yes. They can certainly go ahead and do that.
I'm currently on OPT that expires on June 2020, and I applied for OPT STEM extension already. If I don't get it on time, it's my understanding that I get a 180-day extension. Is that correct?
That's correct.
My driver's license is also going to expire the same day as the OPT. Do you get an extension during the 180 days?
Take your receipt notice down to the DMV. You know, not all DMV offices operate the same. As most of you know, we are broadcasting from Florida today. So here in the state of Florida, you know, that does not seem to be a problem with a receipt notice. Surely, you know, I don't see how it would be a problem in the state of New Mexico.
If I am denied the green card after the diversity lottery, can I lose my F1 status, although I have not completed my program?
If you continue to maintain your F1 status, you're not going to lose it. And I think you're not going to be denied your DV lottery. I think you may not catch a number. So those are two different things. You're not starting an immigrant process until there's actually a number available to you. I think once there's a number available to you, you can just go ahead and adjust your status as long as it is done timely. But until such date and time, your F1 will not be affected as long as you continue to maintain it properly.
If my passport is expiring within a year, I can still use it for the H-1B before I go to the consulate office to renew the passport?
Yes, but it's not that good of an idea, because you know then the visa might only be issued for that time frame when you go to the consulate. My recommendation would be, you know, get in touch with your embassy here in the United States and see what it takes to get that passport extended. And if that is not an option, then let's find out, you know, what does it take when you go back home to get that passport extended before you apply for the visa overseas.
When can we expect H-1B premium processing back?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't have anything else unless. Any more questions?
All right, we'll give it another minute. We'll see if.
I think they're raising their hands. Do you see them on their side?
Let's see what happens when we do that. Okay. I'm gonna have to see if I can. And Rafael, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I asked a question about my OPT is going to expire on May 19th, or sorry. And I asked some questions to the international services, and they said that I am not qualified for OPT extension. But I started the process for H-1B visa on April 30th. So I am really concerned and what is going to happen also.
Let me make sure I understand correctly. You are in valid OPT right now, and you have been selected for an H-1B processing, and your employer is actually processing that H-1B. Is that correct?
I started fill up all the documents on April 30th, but my lawyer, he haven't told me that he put the documents into the H-1B process. So I just know that I just fill up the documents for H-1B visa process.
But you have been selected for processing. That's the extent of the question.
Oh, that's what you mean? Oh, okay. So
Yes. You
yes.
come within the purview of the cap gap. You're fine.
Okay, so what should I do? Should I show to my employer something, the number of the case, or nothing, or just stay here and working at an NMSU, or what should I do?
You can continue to work in the job that you're working now. You're in legal status, and you will be until October 1st. That's what the cap gap covers.
Okay, I understand. All right. Yeah, that was our question and my concern.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're all good.
Thank you, Merry Chris.
All right. Now let's talk to Xin Yu. Xin Yu Fan, can you hear us?
Okay. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So I have a really quick question. I'm right now on my student visa. It's going to be expired on July 21st. And then at the same time, I apply green card because I am married to an American citizen.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. So the question is, because right now we are waiting for our interview time, and because of coronavirus, it was postponed, and they didn't tell me which day we're gonna do the interview. So my question is, if I stay here with my student visa and with a pending green card status, can I be legal here?
Let me just be very, very clear to make sure that I understand. You're married to a United States citizen, and the petition has been filed, and you have received notices.
Yes, I do.
Okay, you're in an authorized period of stay. Your student visa is of no relevance at this point. I assume you also applied for employment authorization?
Yes, I did.
Have you received that?
No, right now I only got the notice that at first they gave me the notice. My interview time is April 21st, and then because coronavirus, they said it was canceled. Yeah.
No worries. You're here legally. You are in an authorized period of stay, but you will not be able to work until you get that employment authorization.
Okay, so I'm legal here, right?
Yes, you are.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Let's see who else. Jessica, how are you?
Hi there, I'm doing well. I just wanted to clarify, I think the question that we heard from Rafael was related to his NMSU sponsored H-1B, and we are not eligible.
Oh, well, that changes everything, of course. I thought he's just been selected for H-1B processing. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Jessica. I mean, you know, when his status runs out, it runs out, and he can only work once he's actually has valid H-1B status. There's no question about that.
Perfect, thank you.
You're very welcome. Cesar, how are you? Cesar, can you hear us? All right, Cesar is gone. Let's try someone else. Edgar, good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning. I have a question. My visa is going to expire in November. Can I renew it before it expires?
And what type of visa are you talking about?
F1 visa.
Well, are you talking about the visa in your passport, or are you talking about your visa status in the United States?
Actually, my I-20 expires in December, but my visa expires in November. But
well, as long as you remain stateside, you need not do anything.
Yeah, but if I need to go back and forward to my country, I'm from Mexico, so it's easy for me to go back and forward. So I need that visa to do that. Can I renew it before it expires?
You can renew it before it expires. It's going to depend on two things. It's going to depend on how long your I-20 is valid for, and it's going to depend whether the consulate in Juarez is open to issue F1 visas.
Okay, yeah, for the I-20, I don't have any problems because I'm going to extend my graduation date here, so I will have a new I-20. But my question was how much time before I can renew my visa?
Well, typically you can renew a visa 6 months before it expires. The question really becomes, can you do it now? I don't think so, because right now our consulates are all closed.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question.
You're very welcome. Katie Chaman. KD, can you hear us? All right, let's try again. All right, no KD. Gaspar, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's your question?
So I am a postdoc here at NMSU and I'm working on OPT. My H1B was approved, so I received the notice of approval. However, I'm not sure if I need the H1B physical card in order to start working like the way it is for the OPT.
I need you to take a look at your H-1B approval notice and let us know whether there is an I-94 attached to it on the lower left.
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
Fine. So if you have dates on that I-94, you're good to go. Good luck.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. So in your presentations, you said that if the employer, the department wants to hire somebody on H-1B as a full-time employee, they needed to file a new labor condition. So they don't need to apply for a new H-1B. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understood your question. What I said was if there are any significant changes to an existing H-1B job, then there may have to, an amended petition may have to be filed. Or if someone who has an H-1B already is changing to another employer, then another H-1B has to be filed.
Okay, so my situation is that I'm now a postdoc and I may make a transition to a full-time position in the same department. So does the department need to apply for a new H-1B or just they needed to complete
we would have to take a look at your LCA. If you send your LCA to Tim Reardon in our Albuquerque office, he can let you know whether a change has to be made.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Problem here with the unmute. Wanted to give KD another chance. I can't get him to unmute. KD, if you can hear us, try to unmute yourself. There you go. KD, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Kofi. So when you were saying KD, I was confused. I didn't know that was me. So,
well,
yeah.
that's what your name says. It says KD Jaman. So
yeah, okay. Sorry.
Now we know you're Kofi.
Yes. I am on H-1B visa here, and I have applied for a green card. I get my employment documents. The only question I have, is there any way to waive the green card interview?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, actually there is. We get a lot of green cards approved currently, actually, where the USCIS is waiving the interview. But Kofi, it's not something that you can apply for. It's not something that you can request. So that's entirely in the discretion of the USCIS to do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Shukoko, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's your question?
Okay. So my question is, I'm on F1 visa, and my visa is going to expire next year, actually. However, my visa is, I got that visa from my master program, from a different school, from like other than NMSU. So I'm wondering if I go back to my country right now, do I need to renew my visa, or can I just use this visa, come back in again?
Typically, the State Department has allowed you to use the same visa, but you may want to check the validity and make sure you have a valid I-20, and you also may want to show the transfer from one school to another to make sure that you have sufficient documentation on that.
Okay, so basically I need to show my I-20 is valid, and I'm sorry, what the other things you said
I would show the proper transfer documentation that was established when you changed schools, so you can demonstrate to either the Department of State or the CPP officer that it didn't fall out of status in between the transfers.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Sorry.
Hello.
Francisco.
Oh, hi. I just renewed a couple of weeks ago my TN visa in Juarez for third time, but my employer right now.
Hold on. Let me stop you there. You know, I know I'm supposed to be the one answering the questions, but yeah, you said you just renewed your TN visa in Juarez. Tell me about that. How did that go? How did you get into the consulate? How did you make an appointment? And was there any trouble getting in?
Oh, okay. Let me tell you, it was interesting because it was going to expire very soon. So I called directly to the American consulate in Juarez, and they told me that I need to apply in the regular way. In that way, they gave me an appointment until I think the end of June. So I did that, but they told me also, as soon as you have that previous appointment, you need to write us. There is a button in that application to have for emergency appointments. So I wrote, and the reason is because basically the classes that are running right now, I have under my care more than 500 students in the department. So if I have to stop working, so more than 500 students are going to stay without the classes that we are running right now. So I wrote my reasons directly in that, and the next day they answered me, yes, you're more than welcome. So they gave me the appointment for the day that I wanted. And it was interesting because everything was closed, and they saw my letter, my approval letter, and they gave me in to the consulate. So we were like,
well, thank you, Francisco, for sharing that, and for all other participants who are still online. You know, that is really a great experience, and hats off to to the consulate in Juarez for having done that, because since all visa services are suspended worldwide, they only issue things in emergencies and for mission critical purposes. Now, not mission critical, that means, of course, if it has to do with the consulate itself and whatever they consider to be an emergency. So if you read between the lines what Francisco just said, the important thing is that he actually already had a valid visa, and that if this was the extension of an existing visa. So it was really not a new visa, there was things already on file, and he did make an appointment. And after he had that case number, he was able to to secure an interview there. So again, hats off to you, Francisco, for getting that done. So now what's your question?
Okay. After all these problems that it was to get this appointment, my department told me, hey, you are doing this every year, so why you don't apply for a longer term or probably a residence? The department is more than happy to support you. So my question is, what I need to do to start the process, because I know that it's not possible to skip from a non-immigrant visa, my TN, for an immigrant visa or even a residence, I don't know. And they asked me, in fact, to ask you, so go
Sure.
ask them.
And I'm glad you asked it. It's something we do all the time. So you can either reach out to Liz, who you can see on the screen directly via email, or Tim in our Albuquerque office. We'll be happy to have a conversation with your department head to explain to him or her on how that works, and then run it through the NMSU approval process. I don't think it'll be appropriate for you and me to discuss this in this open forum. But the short answer to your question is yes, we can do it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask basically to the head of the department to send you a letter and then start all this. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
There is another question also, because my wife also has another TN visa. She's working for Doña Ana Community College. She has a PhD also, but she also would like to apply for a longer term, because go every year to do this process. Really...
Well, if she continues to remain in TN, Francisco, then you can apply for a longer term, because the 1 year issue is really that's a bilateral reciprocity rule between Mexico and the United States. It's this dumb tit for tat kind of thing where the United States says, we'll give the Mexicans only a visa for 1 year, and then Mexico said, well, that's right, we'll only give the Americans visas for 1 year, and that's where we are. So there's nothing that we can change about that. Unless you go for permanent residence, any type of visa for a Mexican national will always only be in 1 year increments, whether that's an H-1B, a TN, or anything else.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for sharing your experience in Hawaii.
Excuse me. Yes, it's because also in the same question that Francisco, I am the wife. And then basically it's because I won some prizes just from NMSU, the Star of Excellence, a membership for the Teaching Academy and all other things. And also I am member of international institutions, astronomical institution. And then my question is if I can apply for a different visa, like the e-visa or something like that, because my prices and all that.
Sure. I mean, even if you apply for an e-visa, you're only going to get it for 1 year. The only way to get around that is to go for permanent residence, and we'll be happy to consult with you on that if you provide us a resume, and then we'll can take a look whether you actually do qualify for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Novala, can you hear us?
Yes. Do you hear
Go ahead.
me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. My question's about like the F1 visa. Since I'm planning to go back to my country, right now I don't have passport. Like I lost my passport like 2 years ago, and for me and all my family members, like my husband too. And now his my driver license almost expired. Like 2 months later will be expired. So without like passport, we can't even apply for renew the driver license, or even like get service identification ID for my children. So we decided to go back to my country to try to issue new passport for all of us. But like as you know, the US embassy is closed now. So we feel if we will go back there, maybe we will not be able to apply for a new visa. My F1 visa, one entry. So since I leave the United States, I need to apply for a new one. So
yeah, Navarra, I'm very concerned about your proposed course of actions. I don't like it. I think, may I ask what country you're from?
I am from Libya.
And of course, we don't have I don't know off of the top of my head whether we even have a Libyan representation here in the United States. If we do, that would be the first place you would want to check, if you could get an emergency passport, number one. Number two, if you still have if you currently still have a driver license, you know, go to the DMV and get an identification card. You know, you don't need to have a driver license in order to identify yourself. So right now you still have identification documentation, and it's a good time to get a state identity card. And with that, you can go on and do what you're doing. Leaving the country, if you're here legally right now, is not a good idea. And it's probably, you know, a bit of a longer consultation that we should probably have, but it's not something in this particular forum. But my advice to you today is, you know, I am against traveling, or I'm against the plan that you've listed. The first thing I would do is try to get a state ID, because I strongly believe that you qualify for that, and so do your family members.
Yeah, we tried to do that like last semester, but they said they asked us for the official like document as passport to renew the, because my husband driver license from Texas. And
Well,
then if you
renewing a driver's license and getting a state ID are two completely different things.
Yeah, but they ask also for the passport. They said we need to like two important like official document to carry with you.
Sure, even an expired document, even an expired passport,
We don't have.
it
Yeah, we
just
don't
doesn't
have.
allow you to travel. But again, Novara, I'll be happy to have a courtesy consultation with you to discuss that. I just don't think that this is a subject matter for this particular forum right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Just waiting on the delay here. They can't get it done. I can't get it done. Whatever I hit, it's not working on it. James, if you can hear, then unmute yourself if you can, because I can't get you unmuted. All right, there you are.
Can
All
you
right,
hear
James.
me now?
Yeah, now we can. Now we got it. All
Good,
right.
thank you.
What's
So
your
during the
question?
last workshop we had at NMSU, you promised to share with me the list of public charge programs, but unfortunately you couldn't reply to my email. So I'm just reminding you if you can share that with me.
Can you repeat that again? You sent me an email and you didn't get an answer. I'm not sure about that.
Yes, please. So I'm talking about public charge list, the list of public charge programs. So during the last workshop, you promised to share the list of public charge programs.
Yes, we have
with
not
me.
shared that with anyone, because as you may or may not have known, you know, the public charge rule after its implementation went to the Supreme Court, and I think the Supreme Court just ruled on that yesterday or the day before, and actually upheld the public charge rule. So now we can publish what it is, and we'll be, if you send us an email, then we'll be happy to send that out to you.
Oh, okay.
Was
Then
that
I'll
your
try and
question?
send it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Denise, if you can hear me, try to unmute yourself, since it's not working from my side.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello. I just want to ask if you have any recommendation on people that got the tax relief payment. I'm sorry, the relief payment from government due to COVID-19. I know now I know that I filed incorrectly last year as a resident, but I haven't found anything directly coming from the IRS regarding what should we do.
Yeah, that's a good question, Denise. And frankly, I don't know. Because this is so new, I just do not have an answer. But of course, you do not want to accept a benefit that you should not have. So if you feel that you're not supposed to have that benefit, you know, take a copy of the check. And first of all, was it a check that you received?
No, it was direct deposit.
It was a direct deposit.
Yes.
Find out. Well, get in touch with the IRS. Well, get in touch. I think with. Well,
I think they're close.
It's got. You know, that money's got to go back.
Okay.
So wherever it came from, that money needs to go back if you were not entitled to it, because you do not want that to come to haunt you later. You know what I suggest? Maybe you should speak with a CPA, with a certified public accountant in your in your area, because if you send back that money, I think you may also have to make an amendment to your tax return, since you mentioned it was filed incorrectly last year.
Yeah.
So in order to clean up the entire thing, you know, maybe you need to talk with a CPA.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Eric, if you can hear me, then unmute yourself. Go ahead, Eric.
All right. So I would like to know that I'm an F1 visa holder at NMSU, and my country, I'm from Ghana. My country has, been affected a lot by the coronavirus, COVID-19. So I was asking, so can I kind of apply for kind of a form of like employment? Like, can I apply with immigration services, okay, to give me like a permit to work, let's say, outside campus? Is there something like that?
No, unless you're in OPT, there's not going to be employment authorization. If there is the necessity for employment due to undue economic circumstances, and you come within the purview of that because the payments for your studies, you know, that were indicated on the original affidavit of support and then on your original student application no longer hold true, and you have been a student for more than 9 months, yes, there may be a possibility, but we'd have to take a closer look at that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Farsin, you're on. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
What's your question?
Hello.
Go ahead, Farsin.
So I'm a student here at NMSU, so I'm on F1 visa. My wife is an Austrian citizen.
Yay.
I was wondering if I can apply for Austrian visa to go to Austria as a student here in the US, or I need to leave the US, even though I'm a student.
Well, you know, and I'm honored to get the question. You may or may not know I'm an honorary consul to the Republic of Austria, and of course it's my home country. Austria right now is not issuing any visas.
Right. I know about that. I mean, after this COVID-19 situation.
Sure, absolutely. If you're married to an Austrian national, I mean, you know, we'll welcome you to the mountains.
That is very good. So I don't need to leave the US to apply for a visa?
You can apply here through our embassy in DC. They have a new procedure now. They have actually contracted with a couple of agencies on where those visas can be applied for. Yes, it can be done from here.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome, Farsi. Etisham, unmute yourself. That's your chance. I'll try it for you. Go ahead.
Hi, I have a couple of questions here. One is, can students change their jobs after being approved for OPT extension?
I can hardly understand you. Would you start again, please?
Sorry, my first question is, can students change their jobs after being approved for an OPT extension?
So if it's an OPT extension, I'm assuming you're a STEM student, correct?
Yes.
Well, if you change jobs, you know that new employer will have to have their own training program and stuff. Otherwise, you cannot change.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
That new employer will have to apply for you. That new employer will have to have their own training program. Remember, STEM OPT is strictly tied to an employer with a training program.
Okay. And my second question is, this is actually for my wife. She's on her OPT and her visa is going to expire next month. And are we required to extend that visa?
No, if you remain stateside, you do not have to extend the visa. As long as she's in OPT, she's in valid status.
Okay. And one last question. My passport is about to expire. So do I have to go back to my home country to renew it, or can that be done through an embassy here?
You have to contact the embassy of your home country to get that answer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Layla, you're on.
Hello, thank you so much for providing this opportunity to actually we ask our question. I really appreciate that. I have two questions. First of all, I want to know, what do you think? Is it a good time to start a new NIW process, or it's better? I have a F1 valid visa, at least one more year. What do you think? Is it good to start NIW when I am kind of, you know, in a good situation to have applied for that, or it's better just I wait, you know, this pandemic, after that I start?
I would not wait. I think if you qualify for an NIW, depending on in which area it is, you know, that those are highly sought after individuals we want in the United States, obviously. So it really depends on your employer. If the employer is willing to move forward with the NIW, go ahead, absolutely.
Oh, NIW is dependent on employee?
Some of them do, not all of them do. It depends on what you do. If you want to do it, if you are freestanding and you can do it, go ahead. I don't see why you would wait. I mean, and take with a grain of salt what I'm saying. I have not seen any of your qualifications, so I'm just assuming you do qualify for NIW. But if you do, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. And my second question is about return. After listening to your answer to some of my colleagues, I found that this tax return may actually make problem for us. I am here in United States more than 6 years, and from 3 years ago, every year actually, I had a small amount of return every year because of tax return, I mean, because of paying tuition for my dependent actually people. So what should I never fill in any form. I always pay to H&R Block. They have done everything. I just give up all the document and that's it. I don't know what they have done, and I don't know if it is.
Well, I have no opinion on that. You know, our tax laws are very complex, and I'm not a tax lawyer, so I can't advise you on tax issues. If you have a tax obligation, you know, then pay it, and if you're entitled to a refund, by all means take it. Again, speak with your CPA about that. I just can't answer tax questions. I just can't do that.
But for sure, we need to return that $1,200 that they sent us. Maybe it was a mistake. Yes.
If you receive money that's not due you, I don't understand how a student would receive a stimulus check. That makes no sense. It just doesn't. Use common sense on that. You're not entitled to that money. And of course, it's not your fault that you received it. You likely
Yeah.
received it just for the mere fact because you had a tax obligation and you filed a tax return, and that's why you received that money. I have not heard anything, anything to the contrary, or I have not heard how that might be enforced, if at all. I just don't know. You got to take my answer as a common sense answer. If you're not employed and working in the United States, if that's not your main purpose of being here, well, then you're not supposed to get a stimulus check.
Yes, but I received, probably everybody received a letter after that from federal and from actually President Office, White House, that says, okay, you got this money because you help economy work, something like that.
I mean, that's the that's the re-election campaign letter that they don't know that you can't vote. That in and of itself should tell you that something is wrong.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lila. All right, Elsa, go ahead.
Hi. I just want to ask, like, my F1 visa is going to expire in July. So, and because of the COVID-19, we can't go home and stuff like that. So what do I do?
Nothing. As long as you're in legal student status, you can stay. Your visa is only there to travel. It's not. It doesn't help you staying here. It only is there to apply for an entry to the United States. So if the visa in your passport expires, that doesn't matter. What matters is that you have a valid I-20 and a valid I-94.
Yeah. So what about when I want to go back home?
Well, without a visa, you're not coming back. So again, there are two things you got to watch out for. Number one, you got to have valid student status in order to apply for a new F1 visa back home. Secondly, you need to check first whether the embassy or consulate where you got the first visa is actually open for visa services and you can actually get a visa. And then you got to figure out what country you're flying back from to the United States, whether you can actually get back into the United States from that country.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Baraka.
Hello. I was just asking a question on the back of somebody else's question on the national interest waiver. I'm an F1 student right now doing undergraduate. Is it possible for me to apply for the national interest waiver as soon as I go into grad school?
You can apply for an national interest waiver right now if you qualify. I don't know what your qualifications are. It's not a matter of age. It's not a matter of how many schools you have attended. It's a matter of whether what you do is in the national interest and will prospectively benefit the United States in such a manner that a labor certification process should be waived. That's the criteria, not what stage of schooling you're in.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise, you got another question? Come on.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back, okay.
Okay, so my situation is a little bit, well, I wouldn't say complicated, but long. So I graduated from NMSU last year, and I am currently working in a company in my OPT. I have filed for my OPT extension because I am a STEM major, and I'm waiting for my, well, I mean, I think I'm gonna get my receipt notice like probably early next week. My F1 visa is going to expire this November. And I am soon to be engaged. So my question is, being my STEM extension pending, can my husband file for a green card petition? And if he does, will I be able to renew my F1 visa after that to go back to my home country and back and forth? I am from Mexico.
Well, the answer is yes if your husband is a U.S. citizen. Is he?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you don't. Once he files, and once you have the proper travel and work authorizations, you don't need the F1 visa anymore.
And will my employment card will still be valid? Can I still work?
If you use the STEM card, you're going to have to stay with the STEM job. But with your husband filing the new petition under the marriage, you will get another employment card, and with that card, you can work wherever you want.
And if I go outside the country and come back,
You need a travel permission to do that.
Oh, from the green card application.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Osiris, you're back? Or you're not? Okay. I think we've gone through, was Abby there? Yeah, there she is. Abby, you're on. Nope, no longer there, unmuted. All right, my friends at NMSU, that's it. I'm glad we had this opportunity. As always, I enjoy working with you. You know where to find us. Stay safe, healthy, and we'll talk to you next time around. Goodbye.
Thank you.